This recording is an offering of Networks for Training and Development's online university.
Aloha, this is Rosa McAllister with Networks for Training and Development, and this is December the 3rd, 2018. This is our Healing Circle call, our monthly time on the first Monday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, where we get together to breathe together, think together, meditate together, and hold each other close. Just a time set aside in our busy lives for us to come together with other like-minded, kindred spirits where we can help one another and help ourselves slow down, be a little bit more present, and breathe. I'm honored to be leading this Healing Circle call this beautiful December day. I'm in Maui, Hawaii, where I live, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my time, and it's a breezy, sunny, beautiful, warm day. Some of you are listening in from other locations, the East Coast of the United States, where I understand it's been pretty cold, may even be a little dreary. It's 8 p.m. your time. There oftentimes are others from central and southwestern southwestern United States on this call. Sometimes we have folks from Canada, from other parts of the United States, from here in Hawaii, Mexico, Iceland, and several other locations. Wherever you are, be it December 3rd or December 4th possibly, whatever time of day and whatever is your weather, I'm offering you this time to be with us. As often happens when we do these healing calls, it just, interestingly enough, happens to be a time where things are happening, and whether it's a celestial event, full moons, or political events, or natural events. We've done these healing calls sometimes following disasters, earthquakes and flooding and weather-related things. And sometimes it's just that time of year, which here we are now and today. The beginning of December, for many of us, is a very wonderful time and also sometimes a very troublesome time. It is the confluence of many, many spiritual holidays that happen in December. Did you know that December, more than any other month in our calendar, has the record of the most number of spiritual holidays, and other holidays too, but spiritual holidays, and really high holy days, high spiritual days in many beliefs. That's our December, and here we are. Many of them are pretty obvious to us, but I wanted to spend a little bit of time just thinking about some of the different spiritual holidays that do happen in December, starting with Hanukkah. Hanukkah is a Jewish festival of lights, it's known as. It started yesterday on December 2nd, and it starts the 25th day of the Jewish month of Kislev, and I hope I'm saying that correctly. My apologies if I'm not. Hanukkah, many of us know, it's growing up not Jewish. I had various friends who were, and I remember being very jealous because they had, 8 or 9 days of gifts. How wonderful was that? And festivities and fun. But there's more to it, of course, than that. And I'm not going to go into the whole history of Hanukkah, but what I think is really beautiful and lovely is this idea of festival of lights. Hanukkah in itself, it really means a dedication or an induction. And it really has to do with the Maccabees and the Greeks. And the Maccabees, a Jewish tribe, fighting up and rising up against the Greeks. Like many groups, spiritual groups and religious groups being persecuted, the celebration that would then follow would be one of great celebration and continues on. And so the lighting of the menorah, the lighting of the 9 branded candle holder, if you will, you light 1 candle for each day of Hanukkah with the one in the middle as well, which is your kind of starter candle, if you will. And there is ceremony and prayers and foods and gifts that go along with this. The colors for Hanukkah that we think of most are blue and white. Interestingly enough, we'll hear that again as we talk about some of our other holidays, spiritual holidays of December. Hanukkah is a greatly revered and cherished holiday of the Jewish faith, and more I'm seeing other people who aren't necessarily of the Jewish faith and culture who also are following some of the traditions of Hanukkah, which I think is lovely. The next spiritual holiday or that in December is Advent, the Christian tradition of Advent, which interestingly enough this year also started yesterday on December 2nd. Advent means a coming into place or a view or a being or an arrival. And for Christians, Advent is the 4 Sundays. It starts the 4 Sundays before Christmas, and it lasts until Christmas Eve. And Advent is a time to think about the coming of the birth of Christ, which occurred on Christmas. Interestingly enough, Advent, there are many traditions that go along with Advent, and one of them also is the Advent wreath, which is similar to Hanukkah, is the lighting of candles. Now, there's typically 4 candles in the Advent wreath, one for each of the Sundays, or one for each of the weeks of Advent. And blue and white are also the colors typically thought of with Advent, just like Hanukkah. Some traditions, I grew up in a mostly Catholic neighborhood, and we were of various cultures and lineage, and some traditions and some cultures have various foods linked with Advent as well. The next one, which may not be as familiar to some of you, is Bodhi Day. Bodhi Day, B-O-D-H-I, Bodhi Day is this year's, and it's typically celebrated on December 8th. It's a Buddhist holiday, and it's known as a day of enlightenment. It is the day that it is believed that Buddha, when he was a prince and not a Buddha yet, sat under a Bodhi tree and was transformed and transfigured and became enlightened. Bodhi festivals throughout India and other places of Buddhist faith and by Buddhists around the world is celebrated similarly to Christmas trees in lighting colorful lights all around your home or your trees, even if you don't have a Bodhi tree itself. There are foods celebrated with Bodhi Day. There are chants and songs, much like Christmas and Hanukkah. And guess what? It's multicolored lights, but the primary colors of Bodhi Day also are blue and white. Interesting, huh? The next of the spiritual holidays is winter solstice, and that's typically celebrated on December 21st, sometimes the 20th or the 22nd, but typically the 21st. And the winter solstice is one from the pagan or the Wiccan or the Gaian religious spiritual belief systems. Winter solstice is also celebrated to some extent or acknowledged by others, and it is the beginning of the winter season officially. Some say that the winter solstice is when the sun is triumphant against the night. In ancient history, and still carried on in some traditions, this is when you plan your crop rotations. I remember back when I lived in Pennsylvania, on the winter solstice, is when I would plan my garden for the summer, where I was going to grow things. I would plot it out, what plants I was going to put in new, what I was not going to use, etc. Seed catalogs usually didn't start coming until January, but I already had a plan in mind because I knew the tradition of the winter solstice and used it as a fruitful time, literally, to plan for my garden. It's also a time when domestic animals were often mated. It was a belief that anyone who mated or became pregnant on the winter solstice would give birth to an enlightened, very healthful being. In England, in some areas of England, it's also a celebration or a tradition where they burn the clocks. The idea that we're coming to the end of time, the end of the year, and it's time to get rid of things that didn't work out, or get rid of the notion of time for the year. And guess what? Winter solstice, the primary colors often envisioned with winter solstice are blue and white. The next big spiritual day, holiday in December is December 25th, known as Christmas. Now, there are many traditions and many cultures that celebrate it on other days, but December 25th is kind of acknowledged as the Christmas day. And most of us are very familiar. And in fact, for some traditions, it's a shame because maybe they're not as held as highly or as well known as Christmas. But our traditions of Christmas trees and Christmas lights, oftentimes multicolored lights, although in more recent years, the white twinkly lights certainly seem to be the ones that are used the most. Lighting of candles in the windows to help shine the way and shine the night, enlighten the night, are oftentimes used. And again, many, many traditions, foods, songs, chants, dances, presents, things going along with Christmas. Interestingly enough, we think of red and green also as the primary colors of Christmas, but the original colors with Christmas were, blue and white. The next big spiritual holiday is a more recent one, and that's Kwanzaa, and that's celebrated, or it starts celebration on December 26th. It is a week-long celebration of African culture. And it's based on the idea of the, quote, first harvest celebration that oftentimes occurred in Africa around this time of year, where the first harvest oftentimes of crops was thought to be the best harvest, and the one of which you ate some and you let some go fallow, the fields, or you replanted some. You let it go to seed or replanted. You didn't use it all from the first harvest because the idea was you were giving back to the earth. Kwanzaa is a very, very special holiday that's celebrated by many people. And again, I'm seeing more and more people, not just of African descent, but other people who are embracing Kwanzaa as well. There's a special mat called a mkeka that is oftentimes used. Sometimes it's a tablecloth or a placemat, sometimes a rug. And on it are many different things that are indicative and kind of illuminating parts of the African culture around food, around music, around many other things. And they're placed on the mkeka, or the special mat. And there's chants and songs, no surprise, during this week-long celebration, and lots of good food, family, and celebration. The colors associated with Kwanzaa are much more brilliant, not the blue and white, but the oranges and the greens and the browns that we oftentimes see in the clothing of folks from Africa. There is, however, a 7-piece candle oftentimes used in Kwanzaa, and it's called the Mishumia Saba, Mishumia Saba. And it, just like a menorah and just like an Advent wreath, are lit one day at a time, one piece at a time, or one candle at a time. Again, being a week-long celebration, one candle is lit per day. There are many other holidays, spiritual beliefs, and things that happen during December. Again, the most popular month for spiritual traditions, if you will. I just think it's very, very interesting, the recurring theme of light and candles and bringing out of darkness and celebration and food and chant and more. And so I offer us a bit of a prayer, a bit of a meditation together that's not from Kwanzaa, and it's not from Solstice, and it's not from Hanukkah, and it's not from Bodhi Day, and it's not from any of the other traditions, but just one about the winter and December. Because December is the end of our calendar year, amongst other things. And December is a time for us to recall and relive a bit and give thanks, and also a time of hope for the new year. And so I offer you this. There are those who fear the night. There are those who don't see the light from 1,000 million suns since the multiverse began. Rain upon us purest light, radiance fine and radiance bright, blessing us with starlight's song. Bring the new and heal the wrong. Velvet darkness, old and wise, draws up all into the skies. Let your hopes and fears now flow to the heavens. Make it so. Give all to the starry night. Let what once was be right. When you flow so crystal clear, starlight's music you can hear. Starlight messages you sense from the world which never ends, from the realms of beauty free, bringing stellar harmony, now to you and now to me, lifts us, loves us, lets us see universal tapestry, wonder-filled infinity, living light awakens in me. So it is, and so it shall be. And I offer you one of my favorites of the holiday season, from the Christmas Christian tradition, but embraced by many others. Rejoice, rejoice. Rejoice in all that you are. Rejoice in all that you have been. Rejoice in all that you are yet to be. Rejoice in the year that has been. Rejoice in the year that will come. Rejoice in your family and your friends, in your health and your beauty. Rejoice in you. Rejoice in me. Happy holidays to everyone. We love you and look forward to 2019. Aloha.
Thank you for listening. We hope the information provided was helpful. Don't forget to stop by our website and take advantage of all we have to offer.